Hey everyone, Draco Magnius here for what will be the last episode of Drakengard 2 Weapon Stories. This time we are covering the secret weapons that can only be obtained by using a Gameshark, Game Genie, or one of those other cheat code programs for the PlayStation 2 or whatever. As you can see, I have the image that has all three of the weapons in here. A bit of information before we get started. All of these weapons in this set were actually weapons in Drakengard 1. I do have the weapon story, or I already did do the weapon story for Poison Tongue in Drakengard 1, but I never did the weapon story for Rite Heart or Widow's Death. Because of this, after I'm done explaining, I will be going into Drakengard 1 story for Rite Heart. Then we'll move on to the Drakengard 2 story for Rite Heart, then Poison Tongue in Drakengard 2, Widow's Death in Drakengard 1, then Widow's Death in Drakengard 2. I'm also going to do a little bit of information on each weapon, more or less, just because, we're not having a weapon corner, so I'm going to go into a little detail of these weapons in particular, just because. But without further ado, let's get this show on the road. In the twisted, misshapen blade of this sword lies an evil curse. Within it is the hate of the woman who used it to slay herself and the lover who betrayed her. All who take up this sword are bewitched, and against their own will they must slaughter others without mercy. Only by cutting off their own arm can the curse be broken. When the victim cuts off his arm, his soul becomes part of the blade. He is able to wield it with nothing but the power of his own thoughts. Only one other way exists to break the curse of the sword. If the spirit of the girl were to fall in love with the wielder, she would lift the spell. But no man has yet won her love. Once there lived a girl, fair and pure, born into a life of poverty. She was sent to work as a maid in the home of a noble family. There she was treated like an animal. After months of hard labor and abuse, her mind and body began to fail her. The only one who treated the girl with any kindness was her lord's youngest son. He comforted her, and soon they began an illicit affair. The doting girl lived for the short midnight meetings, alone with her lover. Late one night, she made her way to the meeting place at the usual time, and found her love waiting for her. But he was not alone. With him were all of his brothers and sisters, smiling like demons. They encircled her and forced her to the ground. She lost consciousness, and when she caught sight of the cruel grin on her lover's face. The next morning, the girl limped back to the mansion. In her hands, she held a beautiful sword. When she caught sight of her lover, she lunged for him without a word, and pierced his and her own heart. Seeped in their lifeblood, the fatal weapon took up the scorned girl's bitter hatred, and has been cursed ever since. Wow. How did she pierce her and his heart at the same time? That seems kind of difficult. Anyway, so this particular weapon is the one that one merchant leader rather used to fight the undead. Well, we saved him from undead, and he was wielding it. So I just wanted to bring that back up. But let's move on to the next weapon. Okay, I just wanted to bring this up before we get into the actual weapon story. This weapon and the weapon that follows were actually found in the same place in Drakengard 1. Also, the weapon itself looks a lot different from its Drakengard 1 counterpart. There should be an annotation on the screen if you want to hear the weapon story for Poison Tongue. But, without further ado, let's get to the actual weapon story for Poison Tongue. Long ago, there was a vast kingdom surrounded with water and enclosed by mighty walls. Blessed with the gift of water, the people lived a life of happiness. An altar to the water goddess stood at the center of the kingdom. On it, laid an axe, which radiated a calm blue light. Legends told that the goddess used the axe to slay the demon king of drought. Beyond its walls, other nations schemed to steal the prosperous kingdom's wealth. Under the command of their king, the citizens fought bravely, but the peace-loving people of the Water Kingdom were no match for the invaders. Soon their mighty walls lay in ruins, and the war was on their doorstep. When the flames of war reached the water goddess's altar, the axe came to life, floating above its resting place. Its blade gave off a blinding flash of light. The next moment, a tidal wave washed over the invading armies and continued past the kingdom's borders, drowning the land of the enemy. Having served its purpose, the axe lost its luster, and the waters subsided. Now the ancient weapon looks as drained and lifeless as a desert. You know, this weapon story has pretty much nothing to do with the first one. The first one mentions a surgeon and he murders a royal family, and then he dips the blade into water that had poison in it. This one just has an axe with a goddess in it. And I take it from the fact that it mentions that it lost its power, that this would have been a weak weapon based on its story. So, yeah. But let's move on to the next one. Queen Brunhilda, daughter of Visigoth, King Athanagild, was wife of Sigbert I of Austriasa, and ruled the kingdom as regent in her son's name after the death of the king. Neighboring Neustria was ruled by Chilperic I and Queen Fredegunde, seeking to expand their kingdom at the expense of their neighbor. They had Sigbert assassinated. This sparked a long and bloody feud between the two kingdoms. The rift between countries deepened as the Brunhildes and Fredegunde's relatives were murdered one by one. Eventually, Brunhilde was betrayed while attending peace negotiations and was sentenced to death by Clothar II. This is the poleaxe that was used to chop off her head. Neustrasia's King Chilperic I ended the long confrontation with Austrasia by agreeing to the marriage of his second son, Alfenstein, to Fonpadel, third daughter of Sigbert I, King of Austrasia. All was peaceful between Neustrasia and Austrasia until Sigbert I's heir Alambar, missing since his tour of the western Gothic land of Onatras, returned to claim the throne. Alambar killed his mother Brunhilda, then confronted King Chilperic's widow Fredegunde, who had planned to assassinate him, and claimed that Fonpadel and Allenstein's marriage was illegitimate, then declared war against Fredegunde's eldest son, King Clotaire II of Neustria. The battle began in the northern Austrasian land of Voimar. Alambar led his Austrasian army to victory over the Neustrasians. Fredegunde was captured at the castle and executed by the same axe used to behead Brunhilde. Oh my god, that was a difficult one to do, because of all of the ridiculous to pronounce names spelt so awkwardly. My god. But hey, at least we left Drakengard on a bloody and brutal note, much like all Drakengard series should be ended on. But with that, I think we'll end this here. See you guys in the next Let's Play.